Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, which is brought to you by Wellness Forum and the Wellness Forum Institute for Health Studies. So first of all, it's Tuesday, June 11th, and tonight is the first class in the Mastery Class for Health Professionals, the free boot camp. It's tonight, tomorrow night, and Thursday night. If you are seeing this after the fact and you still want to join in, we can send you links to the recording. I know that health professionals work some pretty crazy hours, and so we record everything to make sure that nobody is denied access. So anyway, if you want to do it, send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. Second thing, Research Bootcamp for Consumers is next Monday, the 17th. This is a one-evening version of the 8-month course that I teach for health professionals. It's a whole lot less expensive, and a lot of people don't want to spend 20 hours plus per month creating assignments and all that sort of thing. So you can do the quick and easier version, which is I just teach you some great skills for figuring stuff out. And that's next Monday. And then the next free tour of Wellness Forum's resources and health Q&A with me is noon next Tuesday. It's for non-members to take a look at whether or not they want to become members. That's on the 18th. So those are 3 things coming up that you probably want to know about. All right, I've been in the healthcare business for almost 30 years now, and during that time, a lot of fad diets have surfaced and then disappeared, and some make a reappearance on several occasions. There are several common denominators of the fad diets. One is that they appear to be new, and people, including health practitioners, like novelty. They are often invented and promoted by people with fancy degrees and certifications, which makes them appear to be a great idea. Eventually, they're abandoned, and there are 3 main reasons why this happens. One is that they don't deliver results as promised. The second is they deliver some short-term results, but they're so inconvenient that people say, I just can't do this anymore. We call them refugees who come to us after trying a lot of this crazy stuff. And they sometimes move on to the next fad, or even their family members sometimes say, you just got to stop this nonsense and act like a normal person. There's something to be said for behaving in a certain normal way at holidays and birthdays. And then the third reason is that they're actually harmful and bad things happen. And some good examples of that is this raw food eating. I've seen a lot of people who lose enormous amounts of weight beyond a healthy weight loss because they just can't eat enough calories. It's tricky to do. I know people who've done it well, but it's tricky to do. Another one is extreme salt restriction. We've had a couple of members that prior to being members actually ended up hospitalized from salt restriction. Another one is eating fat or like coconut oil. There's the coconut oil for Alzheimer's disease crazy idea circulated a few years ago. A doctor claimed that she saved her husband from feeding him coconut oil. It reversed his Alzheimer's disease. Well, she published a book, and 2 years after the book came out, he died of Alzheimer's disease, but nobody knew about that. They just knew about eat coconut oil and you won't get Alzheimer's disease. Well, it doesn't work. And so anyway, those are just some examples of some fad diets that actually prove to be harmful. Well, today's fad is this intermittent fasting thing that just will not go away. It's defined as eating within some type of time window. I hope it runs its course soon. I'm covering it in the healthcare bootcamp, along with a whole lot of evidence showing that it doesn't really provide any measurable health benefit that cannot be achieved other ways. It does make health improvement and healthy habits aggravating and difficult, not just for the person who's eating the crazy diet, but for family and friends around them. Try to schedule your mom's birthday party when a couple of people in your family can't eat anything after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's ridiculous. Food has been shared by people since the beginning of time, the beginning of human life on the planet. So I won't go too far into that, but let's talk about a couple of things, right? As a result of this crazy fad, many people are exercising after many hours without food, particularly if they have to do it in the morning before they go to work. This is referred to as fasted training, by the way. And some people say it's actually better for you to do this. Well, some research studies indicate that it could be helpful, but only for very particular people. For example, young elite athletes. Now, some of our members are young, but few of them are elite athletes. And I would say the bigger percentage of our members are people who are older, who exercise to stay fit. And those in my age range want to stay fit. And we're also looking to guarantee ourselves the ability to live on our own for the rest of our natural lives. So let's talk about exercising in a fasted state for a while and some of the consequences. Well, understanding how we derive our energy is important. Glucose provides energy to the body, simple version here, and that results from carbohydrate consumption and digestion. Glycogen is the storage form of glucose, and it's relied on as a backup source for fuel when glucose levels are depleted, either because a person hasn't eaten for a long time or during endurance exercise. People who are fasting for as long as 16 hours a day are using backup fuel daily. And many very active intermittent fasters are likely depleting their glycogen stores, after which they start burning up lean muscle mass to release amino acids that can be converted to glucose. Well, I think we can all agree that losing lean muscle mass at any age is not a great plan. Additionally, studies show that people who don't eat enough food or have inadequate glycogen stores when they exercise often suffer from impaired post-exercise recovery. One research group that examined the issue concluded that athletes should, quote, fuel up for the work required, end of quote. Some experts claim that exercise in a fasted state or just spending time in a fasted state increases fat burning. But the research is inconsistent in this area and almost always involves short-term evaluation of young, fit people. And that's really not the target market for this. A 2020 review concluded that even endurance athletes should avoid training in a fasted state because some studies report decreased performance, and many report that there is no additional fat burning effect. The authors of the review concluded, quote, we recommend that endurance athletes should avoid high-intensity training while fasting. Many of the proponents of intermittent fasting claim that the body only performs autophagy, the term for essentially cleaning out cells, if it's in a fasting state for an extended period of time, which is simply not true. Exercise and the consumption of some plant foods promotes autophagy, and this process goes on all day long, whether your body is in a fasted state or not. And most people have a longer period of fasting called while we sleep, right? Many of the studies supporting intermittent fasting have been conducted using rodents as subjects. No long-term studies have looked at it and its impact on health. And researchers still debate whether the short-term improvements in health that are noted are due to weight loss, which can be accomplished without intermittent fasting. Some studies on humans show short-term improvement, but 4 trials showed that the specific timing of the daily eating window was an important factor, with some eating windows leading to worsening glucose, blood pressure, and lipid levels. The varying results of these studies is significantly disconnected from the forceful promotion of this practice by doctors who not only promise that there are going to be great results from it, but often state that the results cannot be achieved unless a person takes up intermittent fasting, and it's simply not true. The first and most rigorously controlled clinical trial of time-restricted eating was published in 2018. The study was a randomized crossover trial that included 8 men with prediabetes. Participants agreed to only eat food provided by staff, and the meals were matched for the 2 arms to eliminate any confounding effects from differences in specific foods consumed or meal frequency. And one of the good things about this particular study is compliance is generally really high on studies that are structured like this. There were about a dozen adverse events, which included vomiting, frequent urination, drowsiness, headaches, increased thirst, and diarrhea. Time-restricted eating didn't reduce glucose levels, but it did lower insulin levels and improved insulin sensitivity. Time-restricted eating lowered blood pressure, but it didn't impact arterial stiffness or plasma cholesterol. There was evidence of reduced oxidative stress, but no impact on inflammatory markers. Subjects did report being less hungry in the evening. There was no weight loss. Underwhelming might be the best term to describe the outcomes. The longest intermittent fasting study in humans reported that adults who practiced alternate day fasting, another variation on time-restricted eating, for a year weren't any healthier than people eating more normally who lost a similar amount of weight. Again, going back to what I said in the beginning, nobody can really tease out if the benefits are because of the eating in a window or the benefits are due to weight loss, which can be achieved other ways. The biggest difference in this particular study was the attrition rate, which was higher in the alternate fasting group. So all this to say, let's hope that this fad runs its course soon. My biggest concern about it, in addition to the fact that it might not be safe for some people and exercising in a fasted state may not be a good idea, but I think the bigger issue for me has always been since this whole thing started. We've worked with over 100,000 people during the last 3 decades. And one of the things that we know for sure is that you only get benefit from diet and lifestyle change if it's sustained over a real long period of time. There is nothing good that comes from starting and stopping and starting and stopping. So anything you do to make it harder than it needs to be can interfere with long-term compliance. And I've often said that one of the things that about our members and the dietary pattern that they follow and everything else is that it's much less strict than many of my colleagues are recommending to their own patients. And I don't mean to be critical, but I have people who have not made, they don't adopt a vegan diet and they're not trying to run marathons and they don't eat within a window and they have birthday cake on their birthdays and so on. But they've been able to sustain this for decades. And as a result, they didn't have the second heart attack and they didn't gain and lose the same 50 pounds 19 times and that sort of thing. So there's a lot to be said for long-term compliance. I guess it depends on what your goal is. And we've always been a membership organization and we've always had a long-term relationship with people. So maybe we've just been a little bit more sensitive about this particular issue. But I think it's one worth considering. And I think what I would say about intermittent fasting, we're talking about time restricted eating in this way, because there's a whole other aspect of this that can be used for cancer treatment. And we'll take that off the table now. This is just for daily practice, right? I think what we would say for now is it's an experimental idea that if it ever proves to be really beneficial, like as compared to other patterns of eating that result in weight loss, then we'll take it up. But until then, it's experimental. So let's not make this harder than it needs to be. I'm nothing if not practical, and there is a practical aspect to all of the stuff that we teach. All right, that's it for today. If you're interested in joining the boot camp, let me know, pampopper@msn.com. Sign up for the research class next Monday. We'll teach you the quick and dirty version of the 8-month course. It'll cost you a whole lot less money, and that might be something to consider for some of you who are not going to be in the healthcare field. And what else is going on? Oh, and the free tour next on the 18th. Don't forget that. All right, so that's it for today. Pass this on to anybody who you think might learn from watching it, and I will be back to you next week with more news.